We see the Hamlet, a familiar sight for most of your time in Darkest Dungeon, acting as the main hub to manage heroes, gold, and supplies. For many people, particularly my fellow Americans in the audience, the word Hamlet might be a bit new to you, something you haven't heard outside of your high school Shakespeare reading. If you even read it at all, a topic for another video. For our purposes, though, I'll define a hamlet as simply a small settlement, smaller even than a village, with typically little to no commercial infrastructure. Now, let's take a closer look at that in-game hamlet in its days of splendor. Right off the bat, the astute of you in my audience might notice that I have immediately broken my own definition of a hamlet, namely the clear presence of commercial infrastructure, and a non-insignificant amount either, namely the blacksmith, the tavern, the guild hall, the traveling merchant, the sanatorium, the wilderness survival instructor, and the church. And while the stagecoach isn't technically an avenue for the exchange of goods and services in terms of the gameplay, it's safe to assume the goods entering and leaving the town probably come through its infrastructure, so I'll count it for our purposes. Now, why do I point out my own contradictions? Is it because I want to annoy you? To get you to click off the video? Yes. Is what I would say, if not for the actual reason that the word hamlet was historically used in an informal way just to describe a small human settlement. Why informal? Give me a moment for the engine to rev up. As English speakers, we get the word from the Anglo-Norman hamlet. My apologies for mispronouncing this 1,000-year-old word. I'm sure the Anglo-Normans in our audience have a thing or two to say about my pronunciation. The Anglo-Normans, by the way, were the ruling class of England after the Norman conquest of the Kingdom of England by William the Conqueror, himself hailing from northern France. The Normans themselves originated from the synthesis of Norse Viking settlers and the locals of West Francia. Think of it as France at the time. But anyways, I digress. The Anglo-Norman word hamlet was directly taken from the Old French word of hamlet. Go figure. I assume they're not pronounced the same, but I don't know. So I'm going to go with that. The Old French hamlet was itself a diminutive of the Old French word hamel. Diminutive, which FYI just simply means a word originating from the modification of a root word. Think of how doggy is a diminutive or a modification of the root word dog. Anyways, the Old French word hamel, I think you know where this is going, is also a diminutive of the Old French word ham. And finally, ham could possibly have been ripped off from the Fraconian languages, a collective term traditionally used to refer to many West Germanic languages. Etymology can be a bitch, I know. So what's the point of all this boring linguistic history stuff? Well, it's to show that the word hamlet has come a long way to arrive on my tongue. And in that time, it has meant different things to different people. Hamel, the old French word I mentioned before, literally meant, or I guess still technically means, a little village. In England, the traditional and legal definition of a hamlet is a village or town without a church. All right, okay. Let's cut to the chase. It means whatever people need it to mean. There, nice and simple, a convenient, informal word used to describe something that, in and of itself, was inherently a small, less formally established settlement. Okay, you're probably thinking to yourself, so what the fuck is this then, Stein, huh? What is this then? Stop leading me on and tell me, for the love of God, what I'm looking at already. That, my dear viewer, is a village. Why? Because it's not a hamlet. And, it's bigger than a hamlet. To be specific, though, a village, for our purposes, is defined as... I'm kidding. We're not doing that again. This is the random French village of Vignoles.
Quoi, c'est mon village.
God, I can already hear the scoff emanating from the nearest Frenchman. And this is Vignoles as seen from Google Maps. Notice the dense urban core, flanked by farmland and picturesque nature. But here's the interesting thing. Look at these buildings. Oh wait, hold on. Look at these buildings. What do you notice? If you thought, oh, they look nice to be around, you're right, and we'll get to that in a moment. But more specifically, these puppies are residential buildings. Now I can already hear the screeching of grinding gears in my fellow American viewers' heads. Wait, residential? Where's the front yard? Where can I park my car? Where's the nearest gas station? Relax. Don't worry. We'll talk about why you're confused later in the video too. And in case you thought I was cherry picking, here's like 10 more of these kinds of villages, all from different countries, just in case you don't believe me. Okay, so why do these places all look so nice to live in? Well, for starters, they all look beautiful, obviously. So I won't really touch on the expert craftsmanship of every building, the sense of history imparted on each cobble and post, the pleasant atmosphere of even the most destitute of these villages, the active effort to maintain and preserve the unique character of each village. Okay, I'll stop. Instead, I want to talk about the pedestrian-friendly streets. While these old villages have the advantage of being originally founded before the automobile, many have actively chosen not to sacrifice themselves upon the altar of the car. The human-centered design allowed these communities to thrive on a smaller scale, allowing the natural disincentivization of sprawl. Now, what do I mean by that? Without a car, you need to be able to walk, or ride a bike to a store. Good for the heart, I hear. So opening a small store is doable because you don't need a lot of land to make a parking lot. In fact, less of the community needs to be used for parking because of the lack of cars in general. So there's a smaller cost of entry due to the efficient use of space. Okay, so everyone's walking around. Big deal. And you're right, their calves are indeed a big deal after all that exercise. You know what else is a big deal? The neighborhood barbecues and festivals because of the strong community. A nice segue, eh? When people walk around with everyone else instead of being atomized in their cars, they do this thing called talking to people. I'll have to get back to you on the pronunciation of that. What's amazing is that all of this is cheaper. The density allows for more efficient land use, reduced infrastructure cost, and a general increase in the public's well-being. And what's particularly crazy to think about is that all of this is what you would find in a poor rural community. I'm talking about Greek coastal villages with a GDP smaller than your grandpa's bank account. Incredible stuff, really. And here's what small-town America typically looks like. Would sure be nice if we had American villages.
He said it!
And now, finally, after 7 minutes and 36 seconds of me rambling about inane nonsense, we arrive at the meat and potatoes of why you clicked on this video after you saw the title and thumbnail. The absentee American village, truly quality content, folks. Excuse me, but what about these Colorado small towns, or these gorgeous New England fishing villages built before the car? Shut up. No one lives there. That's not real America. This is real America. Yeah, that's the land of the free I'm talking about. Okay, fine. If these little fishing villages exist and are so nice to live in, why does California look like this, huh? Oh wait, I'm the guy making the video. Oopsie daisy. Give me a moment to find out the answer. Cars. It's always cars. Look, I get it. It's just like every other video on this topic. But okay, I hear you. Let's approach this from a different angle. Westward expansion. Wait, come back. Okay, hear me out. The Homestead Act of 1862 stipulated that any adult citizen, or intended citizen, who had never borne arms against the U.S. government, go figure, could claim 160 acres of surveyed government land. 160 acres, damn!
That's a lot of
acres. In essence, this meant that dispersed, low-density rural communities were incentivized under this act. Not to mention that all of this expansion was happening during the transition to more mechanized agriculture. Take the McCormick Reaper, for example, which further incentivized larger, more sprawled-out agricultural plots in order to take advantage of production at scale, and required less farmhands, further reducing the need for dense rural communities. Mechanization and the Homestead Act. These are but two historical forces that have left rural America to look like this. And it's a tragedy because I fundamentally believe that the old world, pre-car rural village design with a dense residential and commercial center, flanked by farmland or whatever industry that rural community depends on, is inherently a much more pro-social and pro-human community model. than what we find in many parts of the US and elsewhere today. And hopefully, through active effort, we can regain what we have lost. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Now, to say that this little video essay had an unorthodox structure, with the traditional thesis arriving 10 minutes and 15 seconds into the video, is a bit of an understatement. I'm sure scholars will come to study this anti-median viewer structure and teach young, aspiring, fledgling YouTube creators that this is what not to do. However, there was a point to this madness. Notice, if you will, how I started the video with something thousands of you, and 16 million of you saw upon opening Darkest Dungeon, and how I took that simple game graphic everyone has seen if they played the game, and through the power of, Googling shit, sources in the description by the way, I came away with a bit of a better understanding of the world around me. Now I assure you this video had a purpose that wasn't a pretentious YouTuber jerking themselves off for, looks like it's 11 minutes and 9 seconds. Now, damn, I need to go outside. Anyway, I did this to hammer home the power of curiosity. Yeah, that's right. This video was never about the American village. Get you baited. Hey, move the mouse away from the close tab button. The power of curiosity is something that so many of us seem to be losing, myself included, by the way. Now, I'm not calling upon you, my errant viewers, to make a sneering video essay about your autistic fixation of the week, nor to write an exhaustive research paper while desperately avoiding citing Wikipedia. All I'm asking is that when you're enjoying a nice sandwich on a beautiful day, Google the history of sandwiches. I'm serious, give a shit. If you don't know something, Google it. I don't care if you start off with Wikipedia, just learn something. Go down a rabbit hole. Don't set it aside for later. Do it now. Use the internet for what you tell your parents you use it for, to access the breadth and depth of all human knowledge at your fingertips, before the gray goo of incestuous machine learning slop kills the internet and leaves it a shambling, bloated corpse of what it once was. Though admittedly, I may be a little late on that. Okay, actually this time. Thank you for making it to the end of this video and listening to my schizophrenic diatribe. For the 5 people who will probably be the only ever subscribers to this channel, this video is probably a teensy-weensy bit different than my usual gaming content. However, this little curious observation of the week type video essay was always what this channel would eventually have metastasized into. Until I changed my mind, that is. Though, expect less meta and hopefully more coherence next time. Oh, and I should mention, I'll still be streaming gaming content on my Twitch and YouTube from time to time, so rest easy tonight. Now, this part of the video is typically where one would be shouting out all of their Patreon sponsors or channel members or whatnot, but I don't have any. Unless... So instead, enjoy this video of a cat being cat-like, what the internet was always meant to be about.